This is the Good Government Show.
You know, I'm not a cowboy, but maybe I could play one on TV. We don't need to argue over whether we like the growth or don't like the growth.
It's coming.
It's coming. So instead, how do we manage it? And how do we want it to look? In a classroom, you've got to be able to reach a wide range of students that are all in different places. And I think we have to be able to do that with constituents too. Good government doesn't always mean that we always have to agree, but it means that we listen to each other and we try and solve problems together without just icing somebody out because they disagree with us. We're not doing things just for us, and today we're trying to set things up that make our community better for other people a long ways down the road. It's neighbors representing neighbors. We don't live somewhere else making decisions for that county. We're here with you, and that's what local government is and what I hope people see.
Welcome to the Good Government Show. I'm your host, Dave Martin. On this episode, we're putting on our boots and headed down to the Wild West in Texas. I talk with J.D. Clark. He's a county juror in Wise County, which is part of the Fort Worth area of Texas. This is the heart of cowboy country, which is part of the appeal and challenge of being elected to manage the county. A different title than a typical county commissioner title, and it's got a little bit of history, and we talk about that. That and cowboy boots and hats, and JD has a few. And he's also a guitar player, so we talk a little about music. Growth and growth management are big issues in Wise County, and the weather. And it does get hot in Texas. And when I met JD in Austin, it was hot. He's also a former teacher who has turned to public service. And I asked him why teachers make good elected officials. And this year, JD was elected second vice president of NACo. And we talked in Austin just after his election and get a national view of government. The Good Government Show is sponsored by Ourco. That means our community. Ourco has found a way to make government more effective. Ourco provides the OUR platform, and this is an app that blends in-person and digital interactions to connect people with their government, their county, their town, their state. The Ourco app transforms meaningful conversations into reliable data. They can turn results into projects and programs the community has essentially already approved. It's sort of like a flash poll by phone, but without the call and in real time and wherever community members are. Maybe they're at their house or their office or where they're out just talking about local issues. Maybe the choice is between putting in more local buses or expanding the bike lanes. Ourco can get you an answer immediately. With OUR, you can engage your citizens or any group, learn what they want, and build programs and policies that advance your county, your job creators, your constituents. So visit ourco.com, that's OURCO.com, and learn how they do it. And while you're there, book a demonstration. After you get done with this episode, hear more good government stories with our friends at How to Really Run a City. Former mayors Kasim Reed of Atlanta and Michael Nutter of Philadelphia, and their co-host, journalist and author Larry Platt, talk with guests and other mayors about how to really get stuff done in cities around the nation. Check them out where you're listening now or through their nonprofit news site, thephiladelphiacitizen.org/podcasts. So we always start with the hardest question first. If you would, identify yourself, tell us your name, your title, where you're from.
I'm J.D. Clark, and I am the county judge in Wise County, Texas.
County judge, that's a unique title. Does it mean anything?
It does, actually. So then, and that stems from when Texas was first created and divided up into counties. Very sparse population. She had elected officials that had a whole lot of responsibilities that fell under them, and the county judge literally was the judge of the county, but also handled the administrative government in it as well. As we've grown, we've kept those titles, but the duties change from county to county based on how big you are. So in Wise County, we've hit a couple population thresholds where we've been able to get statutory county courts created. So I'm a county judge in name. I do keep all my judicial training up. I do some minimal judicial work throughout the year, will probates, mental health hearings, and all that. In larger urban counties, the county judge is strictly administrative, budget, policy. That's mainly what I am, with some judicial. But then in the more rural, especially West Texas counties, the county judge also sits in the county court and presides over county court and handles the administrative end of the county. So
So tell me where Wise County is.
We are just northwest of Fort Worth, Tarrant County. We're on the northwestern edge of the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex.
What is the biggest difference between Dallas and Fort Worth?
I would say that Fort Worth, very much, even as they grow so much in population. I mean, Dallas is an international metropolitan city, and Fort Worth is as well. They're not to the size, of course, of Dallas, but rapidly growing area, but they hold very tightly to that cowboy culture and the idea of the stockyards, the Fort Worth stockyards being a hub of the community. And even as you grow and have urban things, it's very much a Western city, a cowboy city.
Well, that was the place where everyone brought the cattle, so they got it there for the cattle drive up north back in the Old West, right?
That's right. That's exactly right. So that's where they started out from, and they still drive cattle down through the stockyards every day. People line the streets to watch the longhorn herd come through the stockyards.
They still do that?
They still do that. So.
Have you ever done that? Have you ever worked as a cattleman?
Not in the stockyards, no. So I've helped out with working cattle with friends and family members' places, and I'm not real good at it, and so I'm a county judge. So.
Okay, fair enough. All right, how do you look at it on the top of a horse and a hat?
Yeah, I think I'm not a cowboy, but maybe I could play one on TV.
Okay, all right, fair enough. Is this area? Is it still a Western? Still got a Western vibe? Does it feel like? I mean, you said it was the Old West. Is it still?
Yeah, it is. And Fort Worth, their slogan is where the West begins, and we feel very much that way in Wise County too. And we're a county, like a lot of counties across the nation, that's experiencing a lot of growing pains and things that come with that. We've got, Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, one of the fastest growing areas in the nation. And so then our county, being adjacent to that, we're, the next frontier really out of the Metroplex as people look for more places to develop and more housing demand and more places for people to go and live. And so we've been a traditionally rural agricultural county, a lot of limestone quarries, a lot of natural gas production, but we're also grappling with now a lot of suburban growth, bedroom communities, housing developments coming into Wise County and all the growth and service demand that comes with that.
Okay, I'm going to get off this in a minute, I promise. I'm a boy from Brooklyn. I'm not from there, but that's where I live. Explain cowboy culture to me.
So cowboy culture, I think, is very much, it's in the art, it's in the food, it's in the fashion, the clothes that people wear. And in that area, you're in jeans and boots for a business meeting with a jacket, and that's that cowboy culture. And it's an
we don't do that in Brooklyn.
Yeah, it's an independence and a self-reliance, I think. And it can be it gets hot and it gets dry. It can be a tough place to live, and you roll with the elements and you deal with the wildfire, you deal with the drought, and then over the weekend you can be dealing with flash flood as well, and that can change overnight.
We're here in late July in Austin, Texas. It's 103 degrees. What's the weather there?
It's about the same. We've had a brutally hot summer. It's always hot in Texas in summer. This summer feels worse.
Okay, good. So I got lucky when I came out here. You sort of hit on this a little bit. Urban growth, suburban growth, urban sprawl, suburban sprawl. How do you handle this?
Yeah, and that's the big question in the work every day is how do you make sure that the quality of service is keeping up with the amount of quick growth? And it's also new things that come up. And in Texas, we don't have, in the unincorporated county, we don't have zoning authority. We don't have much ordinance making authority outside of a few things for health, safety, and public welfare. We have to keep up with. Like a lot of counties where, we struggle with staffing and recruiting and retaining folks. A challenge we have in particular is, a blessing and a curse. There's pros and cons of being next to a major metropolitan area like that. One of the cons is, with all that growth, we're so close to those very large cities, they can pay so much more than we can right off the bat, especially when it comes to public safety deputies. And so we try and, what we can't maybe match them in salary, we try and pitch on, benefits, quality of life, being in a smaller county. And that's a struggle there too, because you've got big boys next door that can start you at $20,000 more than our county can. And that's a struggle for those guys coming out of police academy trying to decide where to make a career. And those dollars matter.
How do you balance, you said, there's sort of that Old West feel to it. How do you balance maintaining the Old West feel with the folks who are trying to move in and the suburban growth?
And that's something we talk about a lot, not just within the county government, but with our city partners and the chambers of commerce and all the civic organizations is we know we're growing. We know we're going to continue to grow. And I tell people when I go speak to different groups, we don't need to argue over whether we like the growth or don't like the growth. It's coming. So instead, how do we manage it? And how do we want it to look? And I believe, and most of the new residents that I meet, they don't look at Wise County and our cities in Wise County and think, gosh, I want to go live there because it looks like every other place that I could pick along the highway. They're looking for somewhere in this region to live, and they come out to Wise County and they find a lot of these great communities with the historic town squares that are still there and the historic storefronts, and you've got family businesses that have been owned by the same family for 50 plus years. They like that. And so I think our challenge there is we have to reach out to these new residents and help bring them into the community and let them be part of it, not just cross our arms and say, oh gosh, it's another housing subdivision. Okay, well, let's look at it as an opportunity instead to say, we've got a bunch of new neighbors to teach about Wise County, share our county history, tell them how Wise County came about, some of the big historical events that have shaped who we are and what we pass down as stories, and let them be part of it. And then they love the historic downtowns too, even though they didn't grow up there. So let them be part of it and let them buy into it. That's how we keep that culture even as we grow.
Do you have a couple of saloons with the old swinging doors down there?
So we actually have a place on the square in Decatur, our county seat, and it's still got the old pillars out in front, and there's still a notch mark where a bullet hit it there in the... Yeah.
That's fun. All right. So, no shootouts at any bars lately, oh?
No, not in a long time. Thank God.
Good. Nobody's walking through town on horseback with their guns out. You talked a little bit about the stockyards. How much of a commercial driver is that? So
it's huge for our region. So Fort Worth's in Tarrant County next door to us, but that's such a hub. And we've got, coming off of that, we've got a massive business called National Roper Supply, NRS, and it's a nationwide business, serves the cowboy roping industry, competitive roping. And they started as a local Western store and have grown into, I think their customer mailing list is like 2 million or something like that. It's massive. And they've got all these training facilities, event facilities for all these cowboys who do roping. And it's become a hub for a lot of world champion cowboys from Brazil. They've relocated there, have their ranches there now, so they can work and practice. They're close to DFW Airport and can get to whatever rodeo they're needing to get to quickly. But at the same time, that's a tourism driver. People that follow rodeo, follow cowboy sports, cowboy lifestyle, they're coming to our region because they want to see the stockyards. They want to go to the Fort Worth Stock Show every year. They want to come out and see NRS and buy a pair of boots. We've got a guy named Jeff Biggers who's this brilliant hat maker, custom makes hats, and people come out and want to get a hat made for their head.
Did he make you a hat?
He did make me a hat. He did, yeah. That would have helped when it's too hot for it. So too hot this time of year. But yeah, and it's a huge driver for us. And so that's the other thing is it's not just a cowboy culture that we love because we grew up there, but it's an important part of the economy.
How many hats do you have?
I have 2 hats.
Just 2?
Just 2. I'm not a big hat wearer, so.
Okay. How many? Again, I'm from Brooklyn. How many hats do most folks have?
Oh, I don't know. And you've got multiple, yeah, because you've got different hats for different times of year, and then you got hats that you work in, you've got dress hats that you're wearing to a nice event. So now if we get into how many pairs of boots do I have a whole lot more boots than anything. So that's yeah.
How many pairs of boots do you have?
Oh, I've probably got 8 or 10 pairs of boots. So.
And how do you decide which to wear?
It just depends, and some you can fit better with suit pants. Some are beat up, and it depends on what I'm doing that day. And we've got a historic county courthouse restoration project going on with the Texas Historical Commission, so it's a lot of dust flying right now. So I'm gonna wear nastier boots on those days when I'm having to go in there. So
you've mentioned history a few times. Give me a real brief history of your county.
Wise County was incorporated in the 1850s, and it was a pretty rugged place for a long time in the 1800s. That was in Comanche country, and so you had people coming out and settling there. Starting up some small little settlements, lots of pretty wild and brutal history about then those settlers and the Comanches coming in. And one of the most famous Comanche stories is the Babb family massacre there near the town where I grew up, Chico. And some children were then taken by the Comanche, and they ended up raising them for a number of years, and then they grew up and they ended up coming back to Wise County and living and working in the area on a ranch. And just, you think about those kinds of stories, and that wasn't that long ago, that was frontier out there. And so I try and keep that in perspective too, that we're a young county, in the grand scope of history, and we've still got a lot of growing to do. And it started out frontier, and then we had a lot of limestone quarries there. It's a big oil and gas county always, cattle, and peanut production. We used to have a lot of peanut production there in the northwest corner of the county, where we got a lot of sandy soil. And so it's really been an interesting transition to see, as we've relied on different things and seen booms and busts, and now our local economy's diversified a lot just with the growth. As you have more people live there, you have more opportunities for business and different types of businesses.
What's making people come to Wise?
I think what's making people come to Wise is that, number one, you just got the rapid growth to the region. And so then as they look in the region where they want to settle, you still have a lot of land available in Wise County. You've got a pretty low tax burden in the county compared to other places, especially if they're moving from other states a lot of the time. You've got a lot of small town feel, you do, and you've got smaller schools if you're a family that's interested in that for your kids. But at the same time, you're right next door to major metropolitan areas, whether you're needing to commute into work, even if it's just a couple of days a week, or if you want to be near Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport, we're right there. It's just kind of a sweet spot. So we sit on 287 and 380, 114. You can get anywhere you want to go pretty quickly.
I'm sure the Convention and Visitors Bureau is going to love this interview.
I hope so. We're always promoting Wise County.
I'm starting to talk to more people with your background who are teachers first. Is there anything about being a teacher that lends itself to being a good county commissioner, county judge?
I do. I think that, being a teacher, you think about teachers teaching and talking, but teachers do a lot of listening as well. I think teachers have to learn to be very perceptive to what people might not be saying. And what I mean by that is you have a student blow into your classroom in the morning, acting out in a foul mood. You can't just do your knee-jerk reaction to, I got to crack down on this kid for acting this way. But instead, as you know more students and understand more about the different home lives your students have, you don't know what was going on at home that morning or last night. I might be the only person that says anything nice to this kid all day. And so I have to step back a little bit from my initial reaction and try and understand more about where they're coming from into my classroom that day. And at the same time, too, I think that it helps us as elected officials that have been teachers before. I think that as we teach, we hopefully develop some skills to present issues in a simple, clean-cut way that narratively everybody can understand. In a classroom, you've got to be able to reach a wide range of students that are all in different places. And I think we have to be able to do that with constituents too, and help them understand what we're working on, what the objective is, and what we're going to focus on. So if you could explain it to a sixth grader, you can explain it to a voter? That's the hope, I think. I think so. But I think there's a lot to that, though, because, you think about if you work in county government every day, you take some pieces of knowledge for granted that when you work in anything every day, that if you're trying to talk to someone else about it, they may not have the same background information you do. So how do I make somebody understand all the different things that county government does without boring them to death? And that's the same struggle with a student too. Sure. Do you ever find yourself as a county judge talking to people and thinking, oh my God, I'm back in the classroom? Yeah, I do. And I was part of a panel on broadband infrastructure to the West Texas County Judges and Commissioners Conference back in March. And I had a guy come up to me afterward and he said, I can tell that you were a teacher when I listened to you present this. And so I'm going to take that as a compliment, and maybe not that it felt like a lecture. And I understand you taught English, history, and guitar. Yes, I did. So anybody that's taught too, especially in smaller schools, know that you get other duties as assigned. So, I primarily started teaching 7th grade reading, got 8th grade English and journalism with that. And then we were looking at adding some new electives, trying to find some new unusual electives for our students to fire them up a little bit. My principal that I worked for knew that I liked to play guitar, and he said, what about trying a guitar elective? And so I taught 6th grade guitar, and on the first day when you get 27 6th graders in a room with guitars in their hands for the first time, you're thinking, what have I done? But then by the end of the year, you've got them all on stage in front of their parents playing songs together, and you're like, okay, that's why we're doing this, and they're so excited, and it's pretty amazing to see that progress. And then I ended up teaching sophomore world history.
Have you, any of your guitar students become actual performers, players, professional guitar players?
Not professional, and that I think is probably a reflection on me and not them. But, I do know that some of them still play, and I still run into and keep in touch with a lot of them, and some of them still play, and just like I do, enjoy it as a hobby and a relaxation thing. And so that's cool, because I know that we started that together, and they'll probably teach one of their kids to play someday.
So what's scarier, standing in front of a room as a county judge, or standing on stage performing with your band, which you said you did?
I don't know that either of them I think of as scary. I think that, the playing music, that's for fun, and you're just sharing something for entertainment or art's sake. But here,
working at a bar.
Yeah, exactly. And there, I guess you just want to play what they want to hear, so they don't throw something at you. That's less likely to happen with a group of county officials. Okay. But here it's not scary either, because as you interact with other county officials, we're all in the same boat. Whether we're a rural county or suburban county or urban county, we all have concerns and things we're trying to figure out, and how are we going to make this work. And it's good to come here and be together and realize we're all in the same boat. We're all trying to do what's right at home, and none of us are perfect, and we're always struggling to figure out how to do the project a little bit better.
Well, we're gonna talk to you and see how you figured out government right now, because we're going to go with our questionnaire. Are you ready?
I didn't know there was a questionnaire, but I'm ready.
Yes. You were not properly prepped by I think your friends might have set you up for this. All right. So I think you said 2 terms so far as a county judge. You've served 8 years. And I think you had a background before that in city government, right?
That's correct. I served on city council and then as mayor in my hometown of Chico. And that's Chico, Texas, not Chico, California. So it's about 1,000 people, just over 1,000 people.
Okay. So from the city perspective and the county perspective, define good government.
I think it's understanding what challenges your community's facing today, and trying to solve those in a way that also contemplates what challenges may be coming up down the road, so that we're not just band-aiding things. And I think the good government is listening to your constituents. Good government doesn't always mean that we always have to agree, but it means that we listen to each other and we try and solve problems together without just icing somebody out because they disagree with us.
How do you define success and good government for yourself and your success?
I think that for me personally, when I go home at the end of the day, as I'm driving home, I think about, well, even on the rough days, did you make a little progress on something that's been worrying you at night? And progress isn't always big, and progress could even be, I had a phone call where somebody that maybe we've been at odds on a project with, we came to a consensus on something on that phone call, and that's progress. And then bigger steps, I love at the county level that I could drive by something next week and point to and say, hey, we made that better. We identified that last week, or we got equipment rolled on that road and we made that better. And I love that, because we're responding to things in real time, and some things you may never see the fruits of, or I may be an old man and see something get resolved one day and say, hey, we started planting those seeds back in 2023 when I was in office, and I'm so glad somebody's carried that through, and it's finally paying off for this community. And I think that's I'll butcher the quote, but the quote about you have to plant seeds of trees that you may not sit in the shade of, that other people will, and that's just part of the deal. Is we're not doing things just for us, and today we're trying to set things up that make our community better for other people a long ways down the road. What
should the people use as their measurement for success by you and your fellow county judges? Do you look at the work I'm doing, and it doesn't mean you have to agree with me 100% of the time, because I don't think there are any of us that are, but do you look at me, do you look at other county officials and say, you know what, at the end of the day, I know that everything that's driving him in his professional decisions is that he's trying to do what he believes to be right for his community. And how do they know that? How do they do that? I think a lot of that is incumbent on me in communicating and explaining where I'm coming from and what I'm trying to achieve. And then hopefully people can gauge that and say, hey, I may not agree with him on this project, but I know that he's doing it from the right place in his heart. And I think that's the measure of a county official doing the right thing, is
are we approaching it for what's best for the community, not what's best for me as a politician?
And if the people don't feel like they're getting what's best for the community, what should they do?
Well, they'll probably get a new one. That's one of those. What I would hope they would do is that they would engage with me and say, hey, I think we've got an issue here, or I'm not sure why you're doing this, or I think you're coming at this the wrong way. Because the worst thing that can happen to any of us as county officials is to get stuck in an echo chamber where we've just got allies with us who, yes, you're doing a great job. If you don't think I'm doing a great job, talk to me about that too, because obviously I'm either missing something there in the work I'm doing, or I'm missing something there in the communication that I'm doing. And we need to understand each other better, where I'm coming from, what you're perceiving, and where maybe you think we ought to be going.
So you served 8 years at the county level, the city level before that. What would you like people to know about how government works, how government operates?
I think that what people need to see, and I hope they see and realize about their local government, is we know there's a lot of stereotypical bad that we can point to about government. People hear that word and have a lot of negative reactions, and sometimes for good cause. We see a lot of ugly because that, we usually see the bad actors. They get a lot of press. But I'm always encouraged to see other local officials, because like at a convention like this is full of people who, for the most part, just decided to get involved in their community. And we had different trajectories that took us there, and we've ended up in county government. And this is a lot of people who are just neighbors of you, people at the post office with you, people at the grocery store with you. It's neighbors representing neighbors. We don't live somewhere else making decisions for that county. We're here with you, and that's what local government is, and what I hope people see.
Do you think they see it? Do you think they're what's the feedback?
I think they do, and in my community, I definitely believe that to be true, because we're about 72,000 people. It's still small enough that if you want to know your county official on a personal basis, you can. And all the time, people know where I go get coffee every morning. And
I was going to ask, what's it like to go get coffee or go to dinner or have lunch in the county?
I get hit a lot in the morning at the coffee shop, and it's usually, hey, update me on this project, or where are we on this, and I love that, and that's work too. It's not just in an office; it's out in the community. You'll be at dinner with the family, and generally people respect that. They may come by and say, hey, I need to come see you next week. And it's like, please do that. Call me, or I'll pull out my phone right there and say, well, this is an afternoon. I have a lot of flexibility. And I don't mind that. That's the job, because it's neighbors helping neighbors and working with neighbors. And if I don't hear from them, I don't know. Who's
your hero in government?
My hero in government.
What inspired you to get into this?
Yeah, what inspired me to get into this? I would say more than anything, who inspired me to get into it, and is a couple things. My students inspired me because when I started with them in 7th grade and then got moved to the high school, I had a lot of the same students year after year, and so got to know them really well. And especially when we got into the history realm, talking about that, they had such a negative, just as sophomores, a negative perception of government. And so I would talk to them about, well, you guys know me, and I'm the mayor in my hometown down the road, and so let me tell you how that works. And okay, and so I thought, well, that's the key there. If you know somebody in government, you've got a little bit different perspective of that person and that level of government. And so just seeing that, I thought, we got to do better, and we got to do better at home. And then the other thing is my senior commissioner on the commissioner's court, Kevin Burns. He'll be so irritated that I mentioned him on here, but he is such a mentor to me. He knew me before I got involved in county government. I consider him a friend and a mentor, and he does county government for the right reason. He just wants to make it a better place to live. He doesn't care if he's the one that sees the final outcome or gets the credit. He just wants to make sure that the work's getting done. And I learned so much from him. And
planted a lot of trees.
Yeah, he's planted a lot of trees, and I'm honored to serve on court with him, and I learn from him every day.
I have never been to Wise County. I have never been to Fort Worth or Dallas for that matter. I'm coming to visit. What are we having? Take me out to lunch. Take me out to dinner. What are we eating? What's the special cuisine in Wise County?
Oh gosh, and that's we've got so many great options there. I don't even know where to begin, but we're gonna have to do multiple meals. We got to have a great place in Boyd, Texas, there in Wise County, called Go-Go Gumbo, that you look at it from the outside and you think, well, this looks like just a little hometown place, and you're going to be just blown away by the food in there. We've got some great restaurants on the square in Decatur, and we've got great barbecue. We'll go out to Greenwood. It's a little unincorporated community, get the best hamburgers out there. It's like stepping back in time. It's called Greenwood Grocery, and it's a little bitty community grocery store out there in the north, beautiful part of Wise County with all the trees. You order a hamburger, and literally the walls are shelves with grocery items because it's a store, but you get a hamburger, and it's like going back in time, and it's so great. And so many good options and great Tex-Mex, and please come visit.
Well, I guess I'll stop in for the burger, I guess it sounds like.
Absolutely. Be good to show you around.
All right. I know you started your career as a teacher, but did you have an idea of getting into politics at some point? Was it always something on your radar? Were you high school class president?
No, I mean, I was a class officer in high school, but never considered politics as a career. And I got into the city council thing just because I wanted to help out in my hometown, and I love it, and I still live just north of that hometown. But as I got deeper and deeper into it and realized more about local government, I just fell in love with that form of government. And I mean, what better job is there to do? And it ties in with the reasons that people go in to teach. You feel like that you're going in each day and trying to put in the work to make a difference for somebody, and you can't beat it. This is the Good Government Show. We like to wrap it up with a good government story. Tell me a good government project that you're proud of. Okay, we just wrapped up a project. We actually got a NACo Achievement Award for it this year. We did a private-public partnership for a broadband infrastructure project with a great internet provider there in Wise County. We used some of our American Rescue Plan funding to do a public-private partnership with them to do a hybrid fiber and CBRS spectrum wireless infrastructure, and we've hit more than, now there's 100 meg minimum speed available to more than 95% of our households and businesses in the county. And for us as a largely unincorporated county, there's some really areas of sparse population, and there's a lot of geographic and tree canopy, and to be able to have new service available that covers pretty much the whole county at those 100 meg speeds and up, it's a game changer for residents' quality of life and for education and healthcare, small businesses, people that are wanting to start a small business at home but didn't have the internet speed available before, they can now, or maybe they don't have to drive in to the Metroplex now. They can work from home a couple days a week because they've got the internet available. And I think that we just wrapped that up this spring, and I think we're going to be seeing this more competitive broadband service and higher speed broadband service pay dividends for our constituents and businesses for a long time. It's another tree you're planting. Absolutely. And I hope that people are able to benefit from that for years from now, long after I'm here. All right. J.D. Clark, County Judge of Wise County, Texas. Thanks so much for stopping by. Great conversation. And good luck. Thank you. Thank you. And I'll see you in Wise County. All right. We're burgers, barbecue, some Tex-Mex. Let's go. All right. Thank you. Where do you get your news from? Where do you get your state and local government news from? Because that's getting harder and harder. And it's essential to stay updated with your community. And it's becoming increasingly important to know what's going on in other cities and states, because they're likely facing challenges that you're grappling with too, or you're going to face eventually. That's why we'd like to welcome our new partner, Route 50, to the show. Route 50 is a leading online publication covering state and local governments across the country. They've written about states protecting themselves against the rise in cyber attacks, counties using AI to better support citizen services, local responses to crumbling infrastructure and extreme weather, and much, much more. There's a lot there. It's a one-stop shop for issues affecting state and local governments and their residents. And that's you. That's all of us. Do yourself a favor and go to route50.com to see the topics and solutions they cover and learn what other people in government are doing. They also deliver a daily newsletter called Route 50 Today. I see it in my inbox every morning. I check it out, and you should too. Thanks again, Route 50. We're excited to have you on board and being a partner here at the Good Government Show. What is it that county government does? That's the question county commissioners get asked the most. And the simple answer is everything. On the Good Government Show, we're so lucky to have talked with so many county commissioners and other county officials that have shown us how effective county government is.
County government dates back to, get this, 1634, making it one of the oldest forms of government in the United States. Think about it. Roads, highways, hospitals, schools, recycling, law enforcement, water, sewers, and most of the county, those services are maintained by the county. That's county government. The National Association of Counties represents all 3,069 counties across the USA. NACo helps county government work better together through things like sharing best practices. When county government works well, that's just good government. Okay, so my words, but his idea on why teachers make good elected officials. If you can explain it to a sixth grader, you can explain it to a voter. And as you hear, government is all about listening. A good conversation with J.D. Clark, county juror of Wise County, Texas. Well, that's our show. Thanks for listening. Now make sure to subscribe where you're listening right now. Like us and share us with your friends, and please give us a good review. It helps us continue to tell stories of good government in action. Listen next time for another example of government working for all of us. Until then, I'm Dave Martin, and this is The Good Government Show. The Good Government Show is a Valley Park production. Jim Ludlow, Dave Martin, that's me, and David Snyder are the executive producers. Our show is edited and produced by Jason Stershic. Please subscribe, then share us, and like us and review us. That's the best way to make sure we're able to keep telling these stories of our government working for all of us. Then listen to the next episode of The Good Government Show.